We're going to talk about today is, should I raise my prices between seasons? We're just about ready to get into winter time. And so now is the time when most people sit down and say, I should have made more money last year, and I didn't. So one way to make more money is raise your prices, right? Everybody pays more, boom, you make more money. Well, that kind of makes sense if that were the only factor involved. But there are many other factors that get involved as well. So when we're talking about raising prices between seasons, that is probably the best time for you to do it. Although you should write all your contracts so that you have either a 30 or 60-day notice so that you can raise prices on your customer if you give them 30 days notice or 60 days notice. We do that with all of our agreements. We don't do contracts. Contracts tend to be a legal term, and I just try to stay away from that. So I just do an agreement, because everything that we do in business ought to be a win-win. If my product is good for you and your money is good for me, then everything's fine and it's a win-win and we move forward. So the question comes up, should we raise prices? The answer is yes and no. Don't you love those? They're always there. But the yes and no, but the yes is this is the time to do it because you want to establish yourself for next year. But the no is that, do you really want to raise prices on everybody? In my next blog, I'll talk about why you don't want to raise prices on everybody. But in this one, raising prices in general, what does it do? Well, if you send out a letter or if you receive a letter from your insurance company saying, hey, our price is going up by 5%, you can sugarcoat it. You can say, oh, look at the economy, the labor, the gas prices, the whatever you want to put in there. You put in that and you say, I'm raising prices. What you're really saying to the customer is, I'm raising prices. I want you to go shop and see if I'm still a good deal. Because that's what we do. If you get a letter from your insurance company that says they're raising prices this year, what do? You go out and you check with Geico. 15 minutes saves you 15% or more, or whatever. But anyway, so you've got to ask yourself, do I really want to stir the pot? Because if you stir the pot, something might come out, right? So in a business, in general, my philosophy for business is be as boring as possible. We have our contracts go on, they're perpetual, they go on year after year after year, unless there's a change in price, and then we just send a notification and that's it. And the good thing about that is we show up the next spring and we just start cutting the lawn. Now, it is true that you might get a couple of people that say, hey, I already signed up for somebody else, or I don't want you to do my house anymore, or in the rare case that somebody sold the house during the wintertime, and here you are cutting somebody else's house. So there has been a time or two when we've had that. But when you counter that with sending out a contract to everybody saying, do you want to continue with my service? Cutting a few lawns for free is not a big deal compared with, first, the amount of time and office time and time on my part that it takes to actually make these contracts and send them out. Plus, the opportunity that you're giving your customer to say no. Never give your customer an opportunity to say no if possible. What I mean by that is when you go to a good salesman and you go into a car lot and you say, I want to buy a car, he says, do you want to buy this one or do you want to buy that one? He never says, do you really want to buy a car? That's questioning your customer, questioning his wisdom, questioning his decision already. You don't want to question that decision. That's dumb. What you really want to do is say, do you want this service or that service? Do you want to upgrade to our deluxe? Do you want to do something better than you did before? That would be the question that you would pose with your customer. Certainly not the question of, do you want to continue doing business? Do you still love me? No, assume that we do. Assume that your customer wants to continue doing business and just make that assumption and move forward. So, should you raise your prices between seasons? Answer, if you're going to raise your prices, that's the time to do it. Number one. Number two is have perpetual contracts. Don't go through the mess of having contracts and redoing those contracts and having people sign them and send them back. What a pain. We used to do that, and we'd have people getting on the phone calling everybody saying, are you sure? Why haven't you sent your contract back in? Just leave it alone. They don't want to be bothered. You don't want to be bothered. Let it be. And then the third thing you want to do is be careful who you raise prices on. That's what we're going to talk about next week. because you don't want to raise prices on everybody. That could be very damaging to your company.